Alright, welcome back to another video. It is Friday, December 20 today, and I'm over here in the dairy barn this afternoon. So, I've been fixing stuff all week. A lot of the stuff I've been fixing is in the shop. I'm working on the harvester a lot, and then some other odds and ends. But, this afternoon, I wanted to spend some time in the barn because there's a lot of stuff here that I'd like to get worked on. So, we're in the barn right now, as you can see. I'm going to start out by fixing some stuff in the milk house. So, yeah. Everything still works there, but there is some stuff I'd like to get working a little bit better. So, one of the things that always gives us a little bit of grief is these are our milking units. You can see they all get plugged in here. You can see that these handles, this one doesn't have any play. And this one doesn't have any play, but this handle here, you can see how it'll move up and down. So I'd like to work on that, change out that handle, because when it washes, if it's not sitting at the right spot, it'll leak a little bit of water. So I'm just going to take that off and put a new one on, and hopefully that'll fix your issue. Alright, so you can see here, this is where it goes into the pipeline. It's kind of little, the inlet piece is broken off. You can see this good used one here. The inlet piece is still sticking out. So basically what happened is at some point this one broke off, and now it can just wiggle back and forth on the pipeline. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one on after I clean it up a little bit, and then that'll be fixed. There you go. It's a brand new one on there. You can see it doesn't wiggle back and forth, or a good used one rather. Yeah, I don't see anything that could be wrong with this one. So, doesn't wiggle back and forth, so that is an improvement from the other one. So that's done. Alright, so next thing we're going to work on is, you can see here, this is a handle for a milking machine. You can see it plugs in and unplugs. All of these ones work, but I got one here that doesn't work. So we like to keep a lot of parts for this stuff. We can just change them out, make stuff work. It's really handy. But then when I have time, I like to figure out what went wrong. So this handle in particular, we struggled with having a connection for electricity. So I took it apart. I actually ended up switching it because I had one on the shelf that worked. So it comes apart, but you can see here there's these little wires or steel pieces. And I'm going to pull all this apart and I'll show you, and then I'm going to fix the problem. Alright, so yeah, there's these little steel pieces here that wires go onto that power the whole milking machine. And you can see, it's really hard to tell, but this one here is actually bent down further than the others. So we weren't getting an electrical connection. So what we can do is this pulls out of the back, and I could change these out, or what happened is it actually bent down from use, so I can just bend it back a little bit and it'll keep working just fine. So I got it pulled out now. You can see this one lays a little more flat than the one on the other side. Here, I'll pull them both out. And then it doesn't make a connection. Just see, this far one's got a curve to it and this one's pretty straight. So if you just bend a curve in it, it'll be fine. Yeah, you can see they aren't broken, nothing's wrong with them. All they do is transfer electricity. So there you go. Now you can tell both of those tabs are bent up a little bit. So when you stick them in the outlet, they'll connect. So I'm going to put this handle all back together and put it on the shelf. And then if we have another issue with one, I can just quickly switch it out. And then I don't have to worry about trying to mess around with it. And that's this handle all put back together. You can see why this one is kind of our spare. Just because it's a little bit cracked. But it still works fine. So we keep it, and yeah, we can just switch out parts as we need. So I took this part off the machine that was broken and put it on the spare handle. So anything we need, we can just switch out anytime. Super handy to just have stuff laying around. Alright, the next thing we're going to start working on, and we can't finish it today, is this robotic calf feeder. So, this is our robotic calf feeder. Earlier this week we had a little bit of an incident where we had some calves in here that were a little bit bigger, and during the day, while I wasn't here, while no one was here, I was over in the shop. It's one of those bigger calves we think kind of reached over and pushed over the feeder somehow. So the issues we're having is a little bit self-inflicted. From that, these calves had been weaned for over a month and we had to move them out, but we didn't. So yeah, they pushed the feeder over. They pulled out a whole bunch of wires and stuff like that, which gave us some issues. So feeder station number 2 on that side is working. There's nothing wrong with it. So we have the younger calves over there. But feeder station number 1 over here, we had some issues. So we bought a bunch of new parts, but we did not get everything. We're waiting on 2 parts, or 1 part to come, and it'll take 2 weeks to get here. But we have some of them. So this is the bowl for the calf robot. You can see it kind of mounts underneath there and it'll drain down. Yeah, so we're waiting for the arms for that green box, which is the hygiene box still. But I'm going to go ahead and start putting on all of the bits and pieces that I have here. So yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, but there is only 1 calf in this pen. This is Drizzle's calf. I think we're going to name it Drip. So yeah, it's got a little white marking on its head. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start getting this all assembled as best as I can. Alright, so that is the basket back on, along with the little electrical box under there. There is 17 nuts and bolts and screws to get that all together. So it's quite a bit there. There's another 4 here for the arms, but I'm missing the arm for this side yet, so it's not going to go back together. But that is that part of the calf robot done now. Alright, the next thing we're going to work on is, you can see here, we got some wires that have been made bare. So you can see it's actually working pretty well right now, but sometimes this controller gets really slow because some of these wires have gotten a little bit chewed up. You can see there, it was a little slow in the end. So I'm gonna kind of cut them all out, reconnect them, tape them up. The reason why I'm not running a whole brand new wire is because we have to pull apart the handheld and take out all the wires in there. And all of these wires in the feeder are under a different spot. I believe there's 5 or 6 of them in here. I'm pretty sure 6 wires. So that would be a lot of rewiring. So there you go. I've peeled back the wire around it. And I'm going to just cut all this out and try and rejoin it. So yeah, this calf feeder can work perfectly fine without the remote here connected, or without this handheld connected, but it makes it a whole lot harder to use when it's like this. So yeah, alright, you can see every one of those wires is connected. They all look good, but there's still some issues with this controller. The down button doesn't want to work. The escape button and the enter button, every other button seems to work. But yeah, it's kind of hard to use the controller like that. But it's not the wiring, because all of the wires are connected unless somewhere else in this line or somewhere something's broken. But I can't see anything in here. Well, I got all the wires taped up. Still not working properly, but you can just see kind of the whole way down this cable. The calves have been chewing on it. This setup in here definitely isn't ideal. It's a retrofit. It works a whole lot better than what we used to have in here. It's a major upgrade, but what we should have done is this should have been a little wider, but we were just crammed for space. So we only went with a 3-foot wide alley here. So I don't know. I'd like to somehow change something in here sometime, just because it is a little too crammed. And the calves can reach over on the feeder and grab stuff. You can see that line is by no means the only one that's been chewed on. So yeah, it's not ideal, but I'm gonna go ahead and wire loom this line now, along with maybe a couple other ones. We'll see what we all get to. There you go. Just a little bit extra protection now, that if the calves come and chew on it again, it'll be protected. This wire loom's pretty hardy stuff if you've ever been around it. You know, takes a little bit of work to cut through it. Then yeah, if they do get through this, there's still the other wire. So there we go. Alright, it's Monday, December 23 now. So over the past weekend, we kind of had a cold spell. Got down to, I believe, minus 18 was the actual temperature, but it felt a little colder than that. But we made it through the weekend with some frozen stuff in the barn. Got it all thawed out, and it worked out for us, so that was fine. We aren't very far north in Ontario, so it works out really good for us that way. So I still consider kind of minus 20 to be pretty cold, but some people don't consider that to be cold. But I'm in the barn now, midday, pushing up feed and cleaning stalls again. I worked in the shop all morning on the harvester, so I figured before I'd go ahead and get some lunch and order some more parts, I'd come over here. It's good. We had a small water leak. I'm gonna go ahead and fix that. Yeah, this is what I really enjoy about being home for the Christmas holidays from college, is get to come to the barn and kind of deal with stuff as it happens. Actually, I see over here, George decided to rip the hose off of the air line again. Just put that in the windowsill. I'll fix it before milking tonight. But yeah, it's really nice and handy to be here during the day, because if we didn't come to the barn for another 4 hours, that would have been a really big mess. Versus right now, it's not that big of a deal. I don't even have to clean the water mess up. That'll all dry up before chores tonight. So yeah, I really don't think you can be in the barn too much. Helps a lot to be here during the day. So still trying to figure out what I want to do next year after college. I know long term I want a dairy farm, but it is really hard to decide, just because it's really nice being here, nice being in the barn. We get a lot of stuff done. They can save a lot of money fixing their own stuff. But if I work somewhere else, then I get more experience fixing stuff, more skills to bring home. So it's hard. Thought of a couple of different kind of hybrid options I could do. Maybe work for someone else and work here a little bit. I've thought of the far extreme each way of just stay home and farm, or work in a shop somewhere else and kind of leave the farm for a year or two. Still be here a little bit, but not daily. If I'm working kind of 50 hours a week in a shop somewhere, trying to finish my ticket, obviously I won't be here for as much time. So I don't know, it's hard to know, but that's something I got to think about and decide. So I just finished cleaning stalls and pushing up feed. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about. It's hard. I'm the youngest kid, so that kind of means my parents are a little bit older. Obviously, that's how that works. They're still young and full of energy. I'll give them that. But it's hard. If I was the oldest sibling, I'd have more time maybe to go and do something else. But I kind of think of farming as you get 40 or 50 years to farm. Probably 40 of, let's say, owning it. So next year I turn 20, and you start maybe kind of owning it with your parents, or you work with them for a couple years and then start owning it. Then somewhere in there you own it all yourself, and then if the generation will farm towards the end, you own it with your kids till they completely own it. So it's kind of hard if I wasn't here all the time. Let's say it took me 4 years to finish a diesel ticket. You have 40 or 50 years to farm. That is 10% of the time gone. And yeah, that's your first 4 years. It's not the 4 years on the end, it's the 4 years at the beginning. And anything you do when you're young kind of multiplies. If you spend your first 4 years at the start, you work hard, then you got another 35 or so to enjoy it. So that's life, full of decisions, but it's definitely something I think about a lot. But helps a lot being here. Just coming to the barn, fixing that water leak, and then you don't have a mess to come to later. Makes the day go so much easier. And now that I'm here, walking around the barn, pushing up feed, cleaning stalls, and see the cows all get up to eat and drink, and you get a little bit better milk production. But that is life, full of decisions. Some of them are right, some of them are wrong, or I like to think in this case, just different opportunities, and it's whichever path you take. But that is all I have for this video. That was kind of my Friday afternoon in the barn fixing stuff, and now this was my Monday afternoon in the barn just pushing up feed and cleaning stalls before lunch and before I order more parts. So I like to be in here for 20 minutes to just keep all the cows going and to check on things. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.